Hi there, and welcome to the Autumn Learning Library tutorial. My name is Leonard Bruce. I'm Akimalatham, enrolled in the Gila River Indian community, and I created this database for other folks interested in Autumn-related text and media to help them search and find information. I want to give a huge shout out in the beginning of this to Bernard Fontana, or Bunny Fontana, and his amazing annotated bibliography for a lot of the data that contributes to this database. So first off, this database is built on Airtable, and if you've ever seen any of my other work, you'll have a pretty easy time navigating this base, but I will add some basic Airtable tutorials in the description down below if you want to learn more about the user interface like grouping and sorting and searching. But I'm not going to go over those functions in detail in this video. So in this video, I'm going to be going over some of the different parts of this database to help you understand the different data elements here. If you're interested in the underlying theory and kind of nerd think that went into this database, I'll also add a link in the description below for you to go learn more. But for now, we're just going to get into it. So this database is a bunch of different texts and media that are related to kind of Autumn history or work that's been done in collaboration with or done on Autumn communities. So some basic data columns that I think are pretty self-explanatory. So the name or the title of what the resource is or what the entry is. There's the year that it was published, which you can also go through here and sort and filter by that or group by those different places. There's also the type of media that it is. So some of the main categories here are books or book chapters, articles. There's a lot of dissertations. There's a couple of poems in here as well. There's also an author field, and these are a linked field. So whenever you click on one of these, you can kind of see the other media that they have on this database. One of the other things you can do as well is click on just to expand the record and be able to see the entire record there if you want to see it in that view instead. But to continue on, this source, this is where the entry comes from. So typically it'll give you information on the journal or the magazine that the article is in, or if the entry is a book chapter or an excerpt from a book, it will have the name of the book on here. The page number, so the page numbers are kind of wonky because if you do read through that nerd theory stuff, you'll read how I got a lot of this information transferred over from the original PDF. Was through the use of AI and some other AI tools. But one of the things that happened was these pages and page ranges aren't standardized. So one of the things that you'll see is there'll be a plate 14. So that means somewhere in this cartography, that's what the bibliography stated was it was on plate 14. Sometimes there's a range of pages, and that usually means that in this book chapter on page 4 and 5, that's where this main entry comes from, or pages 61 through 75 in this article here. But sometimes if it's a book, for instance, or if it is a journal article, sometimes it'll just be the length of the book or journal article. This is kind of useful to help guide you in finding where the information is, but this is something that's going to have to be cleaned up eventually. So moving on, the notes here, these are just generalized notes. So the notes that are here are mostly summaries of what this entry is about. And these notes are based off of, a lot of them are based off of the notes that were in the Fontana bibliography. Some of them are my notes that I've taken as I've read through the resources, but a lot of them are based off of the Fontana notes. Moving on, these topics, these are just generalized topics, and they're loose categories for the entries. These are going to be reworked, but for right now, they can help you get a general idea of what that entry is going to be about. For this column, the Fontana exact, so one of the things that I want to get to eventually, instead of doing just the summaries of these, I would really like to put in all of the Fontana notes into this database. So one of the things, and you'll see here, the summary of this entry, for example, about American Indian students from public or federal schools, this article, the summary just basically gives you an idea that it's a study comparing self-concepts, right, of different Papago or Tohono O'odham students. But the exact notes are much more interesting and useful, I think, where it gives you the exact grade, the grade of the school, and it gives a more detailed idea of what the study was about. So a lot of the entries from Fontana are like this, where he did a very good job explaining what that entry is, and I would like to get back and get to that, but that's going to take a lot of time. So a lot of these other fields are empty. The access, the link, and the library link. Eventually, these will turn into this access defines which kind of access it takes to be able to get to that resource, if it's publicly available, or if it's behind a university paywall, or if it's just something that you can't find. The link and the library link are eventually going to be if I can find the resource online, I can link to it, or if I can find it in a library, I can link to it. But again, with almost 7,000 entries, this is going to be a time-consuming process. Finally, this last column is the origin column. So I wanted to showcase which of these come from Fontana, which is most of them, and which of them come from me. So if you go through here, some of the entries that you'll see, it's either Fontana, it's coming from me directly, or it's something that I found, but Fontana had in his as well, so I put it on there as shared. I have this kind of other column in here in case there are other contributors to this in the future. So one of the ideas that I have that I'm not going to implement just yet because I got to figure out the implications of like copyright is I would like to be able to eventually add on a column here that has an actual attachment of each of these entries. But again, part of that is trying to figure out if that's legally allowable. But anyway, so let's move on. That's kind of the basic structure of this system. You'll be able to see all of this information. And again, there's a lot of records on there. So I'm going to move on to some of the other parts of this database, including the O'odham text. I've also been putting together just some video. And again, part of this is very early. I'm not quite there yet, very work in progress, but I added some things just to show what I was thinking about. But essentially what I'd like to do is add on different entries, resources from archives that have videos showing either O'odham people or that are about our O'odham communities. But one of the other things that I've been doing too is just pulling videos from YouTube and listing those as well as part of this larger repository of information. And again, this is one of those spaces where I would like to eventually have a link here or the video itself attached to these so that you can watch them from this system. Again, I got to figure out copyright with that. But this table works very similarly to the text table. You can see there's the title, year, what type of entry it is, who the author is, as well as the source, the topics that I'm putting just generalized ideas of topics on here. There's also a short synopsis. So some of these are created actually by AI. So Google Bard, if you put a YouTube link into Google Bard, it will give you, for some videos, a summary of what the video is about. And then some of them are ones that, especially if it has the O'odham language in it, the AI has a hard time understanding what the video is about, so you have to put the notes in yourself. So some of these are created by me, and some of these are automatically generated. Again, what access the entry is under, and a link to the video if you want to go watch it yourself. Again, love to get the actual video on here, but we'll see in the future. Moving on, we also have an audio field. So the idea behind this is just trying to get songs or stories that I was able to find online into one space. This is another work in progress. So it gives an example of how I want it to look as this grows out. And some of these stories and these songs are publicly available if you want to listen to it. Again, I would love to eventually be able to attach these on here. But for now, one of the things that you're able to do is I have followed the same structure as the previous databases or the previous tables. Is you can see the name, the title, the year, I've tried to put what album it's on if I was able to find one online. Again, type, topics, and then author. One of the things here is if it is an author that's involved with these different songs or stories, this is probably going to be a column that goes away because I'm trying to structure all of that under this authors section, which I'll show you in a moment. For some of these, there were translations that were given from the resource, and there's also just a synopsis of what this entry is, and finally a link. So the other part for these two is that some of these are publicly available, but I'm also hoping to put on information that's just these are in the archive. So these songs are something that I found searching through different archives, and this shows which where the entry is through this library link over in Berkeley. You can Google this as you can Google that. I don't have the actual link put in yet. But these are not publicly available, but they are existing in a repository, and you could potentially request those from this university. And again, hoping to just get a wider range of what's available out there in the world. Moving on, we also have this authors table. So this authors table, and I have it grouped right now so you can kind of see the different structure of it. Let me move all the way to the top. There we go. All right. So a lot of these I have not put any information on because I just added the information in from the Fontana bibliography. So a lot of these are empty. But my hope is that I want to try to ensure that I show who is Otham and who is not in these author biographies. So an example of that is David Martinez, who's an amazing author and a professor over at ASU. But the idea would be that we have a link to these authors and the works that they've done. So you can see under David Martinez, I've added a little blurb about him that I found on his website, as well as indicating that, yes, this is an author, as well as the text that he's created. And you can see he's also done some video as well. And you can go to that, you can click on it and be able to see what is that video. And eventually you can see this synopsis about what the video is, and eventually, hopefully, you'll be able to watch it on here. But at this point, you can also expand out just this author record, and you can see more information about all of the works that he's done, as well as under what tables you can find him in. And we'll get to this table in a minute. And again, as we build this out, you'll be able to find more authors or creators and see the works that they've done and be able to learn more about them. And again, this is a grouping. You can remove this grouping if you just want a big O table of different folks and to see all the works that have been created. All right, so the topical guide. This topical guide is, again, a work in progress, but the idea is to have these related topics for the different entries to make research a little bit easier. So these are connected to this bibliography table at the moment. So if you were to expand out this history, it's going to show you all of the works that are related to history under this bibliography table. I eventually might create one that's related to the Otham texts. Right now, the Otham texts topics aren't connected to anything. They're just like colorful and pretty. But eventually, to get them connected to something, to be able to go through and find the different resources and entries that are related to the topics that you're interested in. A lot of these right now are very overly broad, so there's over 2,000 just history entries. Some of them, if you go down, you can see stuff that's a little bit easier to find. So like mining, this is a smaller subsection of a topic that you can find different resources that are directly related to mining in Otham country. But that gives an idea of how this table would be used to just help folks find information. And then finally, I did want to include the original Fontana bibliography. I'm also going to put the PDF in the description down below if you want to see the original PDF of what he created, which again is amazing. But I wanted to maintain this table just to show the original work that I pulled over. So the original PDF I transformed and added to this database was a huge, huge addition. I'd originally started this and had maybe 100, 150 works in here. And now you can see in the in the combined version, we're up to almost 6,500. So I, again, cannot talk enough about the amazing work that he did to create that. And that's about it. So that's a not so quick tour of this database and just some general ideas of what's gone into this. I do hope that it helps you learn more about our community and find some of the amazing research that we've done and amazing work that our community has contributed to. Um, I do want to say just please be respectful of the knowledge that's shared here. And remember that any information you're reading on here should be reviewed with an Autham knowledge keeper before you kind of assume that it's true. Some of these resources have been extracted and in not so good ways. So just keep in mind that when you're reading through these things, keep your critical theory hat on, right? But anyway, if you have any other questions, comments, recommendations for additions to this database or ideas of how it could be structured better or more usable, be happy to take those. Thank you.